everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make dinner for yourself that's simple but also something that looks like you'll get at a restaurant. Now I feel the trick to sort of making a dinner that looks like restaurant quality starts with your ingredients. And what I mean by that is sort of finding quality ingredients but also ingredients that might be a little unusual so that it'll look a little special. So tonight we're going to make a lamb dinner. I think lamb is great because it's not something that people always think about making for dinner at home, but it's super simple and it's one of those dishes that you can serve a little on the rare side, for example, so that doesn't take a long time to cook. So first, in terms of planning the meal, you want to kind of go with whatever takes longest, and for me it's going to be roasting the potatoes. So here we have some small potatoes I got at the store. And again, what I mean about getting quality ingredients or something unusual is sort of like, for these were different color small potatoes that I got. So having a variety of colors, I think gives the end plate something unusual and interesting to look at. So we're just going to cut up our potatoes into little squares, and we're going to make sure that they're all evenly the same size. So again, I'm just cutting these into cubes. Sometimes I don't use the end with the stubs. I'm trying to get them all sort of the same size, so again, so that it'll evenly cook. And see, having the different colors. Alright, so now that we have our potatoes all cut up into even cubes, I have it in an oven-safe glass roasting pan or bakeware. And then I'm just going to keep it simple with just some olive oil, which will basically help it from sticking to each other. And then I'm going to sprinkle some salt. I'm using this Alalea sea salt from Hawaii. It's a beautiful sort of orange color, and because it's sea salt, a little rockier, they dissolve slower. A little bit of fresh pepper, and then that's pretty much it. So I just kind of toss it up to make sure that it gets evenly coated so that it won't get burned when you put it in. Our potatoes all coated with oil, so I'm just going to toss this in the oven that I preheated to 400 degrees, and this will probably cook about 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to check in on it regularly just to make sure that it doesn't burn, but I also like it kind of crispy. So it's one of those that you kind of gauge just from experience how long you've usually cooked it. So we're going to toss this in the oven. Alright, so next up is the vegetables. Now, the thing about what you can get at the market, just go with whatever is seasonal. And again, when you get something that's different, I think that kind of helps in making a dish seem extra special. I have these string beans that are called Haricot Vert, and I think you sometimes see that at restaurant. You're always wondering what that is, and it's just a very thin string bean, but they look really pretty. And really just make sure that you just take off any end bits that might look kind of dry. But sometimes I feel like they look really pretty with the ends on, especially the long pointy ends. I think that looks pretty. But I kind of snap off parts that might not, be parts that I want to eat. Okay, finally, and that's all prep our lamb. So at the store, I got these rack of lamb, and what's nice about it is that it's already been Frenched, which is that term for when they kind of shave down this part so it has this sort of nice clean look to it. Now this is just half of what I bought. I had like a whole rack that was like about maybe eight chops. But since I'm just cooking for myself, I cut it in half and kept the other one later for the week. I'm just going to keep it simple with just some salt and pepper. So I'm just going to season both sides with the salt. And then some fresh cracked pepper. Now, like this, you can totally go ahead and... Alright, so I'm just checking in on my potatoes. They've been cooking for about 20 minutes. And at this point, They're probably tender, but I want it to have that nice crispy edge to it. I just kind of scraped it so that to make sure it didn't stick to the bottom of the pan. And if you need to, you can definitely add more olive oil just to make sure that it doesn't stick anymore. I'm just gonna cook for a while, a little bit more, so that it gets that nice crispy edge. But I just want to check into it to make sure it doesn't stick to the pan. But that hot pan with olive oil on the bottom, I've put enough to coat it, and I've heated it on high heat. And once the oil starts to get kind of smoky, then you know it's ready. You want that nice heat just so that when you put your lamb in for the first time, it'll have that nice sear and it won't stick to the pan as much. So we got my chops, my lamb chops. I'm going to just set it in. And then there we go. I put that side down first, and we're going to cook that for about 5 minutes. Alright, so it's been cooking for about 5 minutes. I'm now just going to flip it over. What I like to do is sort of make sure that I get some of the meat part cooked. So I'm just going to hold it like this for a little bit, just to get that part cooked for a bit. It's an odd shape, the lamb chop, so that's why I kind of do this, just to make sure that it cooks all around. Because once you flip it over to the other side, the bone's going to kind of prop it up a little bit. Alright, here's my pan that I prepped. Grab my lamb chop. Just put it there. And then I'm going to drop it in, like I said, in the oven. Here's my hot pan with all the little bits from cooking the lamb. That's going to really help make a nice sauce. I just get some wine, like Madeira or Marsala, and then just sort of cover the pan. It'll sizzle a bit. I probably put about a 1/4 cup. It's gonna reduce a little bit, so that's why I put in a little extra so that here with my little wooden spatula is scraping the little bits off. That kind of adds to the brownness of the sauce that we're going to create, and also give it that little bits of caramelized flavor. Okay, now my wine sort of reduced a little bit. There's just a nice sort of thin layer of it on the bottom of my pan. I'm going to finish it off like how they do a lot of times in the restaurant. It's just with a nub of butter, which is about a tablespoon of butter. This will give your sauce that nice sort of sheen to it, as well as that body and flavor. So I'll kind of like mix this in, let this melt down, and then we can get started on the vegetables. I'll just set this aside and get this ready to sort of plate. Nice piece of lamb that's been resting, and now we're just gonna cut it down into chops, and then we can plate it. Oops. See the juices, it makes it look really nice and scrumptious. Put it onto our plate. It's our nice fancy stack. Then of course, don't forget the pan sauce that we made. We're just gonna pour this over the meat. And then you have this perfect restaurant-like dish that you made all under an hour. Enjoy!